of trafficking in women, or better known as prostitution. In this case, women are the biggest bearers of the inequalities that occurs. But basically, this inequality is detrimental to everyone. So, there is one hero who inspired me in delivering my speech. She was named Raden Ajeng Kartini. Maybe you all already know the reason why she inspired me. It's because, as we know, in the past, she struggled to free women from the bondage of injustice. She fights for women's rights to be equal with men's rights, especially in terms of education, to the extent that she found a school for women, so that women who are not from noble families had the opportunity to attend school. And then she also sparked and developed a movement for women's emancipation from her writings and thoughts, so that women have an equal position with men and are not considered inferior. How great she was in fighting for women's rights, right? But sadly, until now, I often find people with the mindset that women are destined to be in the kitchen and mattress, especially among the poor families. Like the people of my family, of my village, which is located in the city of Palu, they think that women's work is limited to taking care of household, such as cooking in the kitchen, satisfying their husbands, and other household activities. And also, this kitchen and mattress mindset can be formed as a result of social groupings that determine a person's way of life in social life and economic activities. Like in a family, the mother plays a role in raising children, while the father plays a role in working. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I want you to think about it for a moment. Have we now reached the Paris equality? When born, everybody are equal. But what happens after that was the emergence of differences in terms of strength, appearance, abilities, and views of society. Seen from anywhere, humans are intelligent creatures, right? Although it is possible that equality is just a sentence full of lies. But of course, inequality is also a bitter reality to accept. But I want that the sentence of equality is not just a lie, even though, as I said before, there are differences between each individual human being. But even though there are such differences, there is a sentence that perhaps can realize equality. It's respect. With mutual respect for the shortcomings of individual differences, we can cover up and hurt the inequalities that occur. I also want, by spreading the principle of respect between people, we can create and live in a world without discrimination between diversity. So, we can conclude that now we have reached the sentence of equality. And equality is not just it's not just sorry, I forgot what is it. It's not just a symbol. That's it, the speech that I can deliver. Thank you for listening. I say good afternoon and goodbye.
Peserta kedua yang bernama Zwaleni memiliki sisa waktu 6 menit dan 42 detik. Kepada peserta selanjutnya dipersilahkan.
Distinguished guests, have you ever been imprisoned unjustly? Be put behind bars for a felony you did not commit? Or be punished for something not even a crime? Unfortunately, such things still happen for the crime of femininity. Honorable judges, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished guests, a very good afternoon to you all. I am Ziolani Parayo, representing Manado Independent School. Today, let us explore the bounds of gender, as well as the problems we still see today. Sex and gender, often confused with each other. But sex refers to your biological traits, usually determined when the nurse looks at you, looks up at your mother, and exclaims, "It's a girl." On the other hand, gender is a socially constructed characteristics based on norms, roles, and views associated with being a woman, man, girl, or boy, as well as the relationships with each other. We also have the term gender expression in reference to the way someone presents their gender. This includes behavior or appearance in reference to one's masculinity or femininity. Now, the problem that arises is the discrimination of those who express themselves as not masculine, but as feminine. For centuries and even millennia, the world has been split into men and those who aren't men, meaning they are lesser than men, or so the world likes to think. See, no one would question a man's authority, especially a big, strong, alpha male. But put up a petite young girl like me up there, and I can assure you, there will be a barrage of commentators questioning my authority. Because after all, I'm speaking from experience. Because unfortunately, I am a girl, and I am feminine. Women and girls are expected to be feminine. We have to have the wonderful qualities of a lady, to be soft, tender, nurturing, gentle, kind, soft, and sweet. Yet we are condemned for listening to society and fitting into the feminine box of shame. When a girl is soft and sweet, she's deemed too weak, merely a burden to society. She cannot lead, for she is too soft. She is unable to be granted such power and honor. When she is capable of understanding her emotions and showing it to the world, she is deemed too sensitive. These standards have been imposed upon women and girls to be feminine, yet the very traits we were forced to acquire are being used against us. Being feminine is now a crime in itself. Nowadays, at gender reveal parties, you'd exclaim, "It's a girl," when you see pink, and "It's a boy," when you see blue. Either way, of course, congratulations to the parents-to-be. But a century ago, pink was considered a masculine color, leaving blue as the color for the girls. Whether pink is a boy color or a girl color matters not, but the perception of it in today's era. Now that pink is a feminine color, if a man were to associate themselves with it, he would be deemed unworthy of respect. On the other hand, if a girl were to associate herself with blue, a masculine color, no one would bat an eye. The problem lies in the disgust that society has with masculine people associating themselves with the color pink. You would see not only young boys going ew at the color pink, but even mature and educated adults. God forbid their sons come anywhere close to such a color. And this, distinguished guests, this very mindset is what continues the narrative that femininity is disgusting. Unfortunately, the crime of femininity does not stop at women and girls, but its effects are detrimental to men and boys as well. A man can be ever so confident in his gender as male, but society will think otherwise at the slightest hint of femininity. Men are condemned for being anything less than the usual masculine man. I'm not even talking about things that are too far-fetched. The simplest example would be the suppression of a man's emotions. For example, boys are taught to be strong, to be macho, to not be feminine. A boy shouldn't cry or show any weakness, for a man has to be strong, physically, with a big build, and mentally, never to consult in any one of his emotions and weaknesses. They are denied of their own emotions due to societal norms, and for the sake of being strong, they are forced to bottle up their emotions and internalize their problems. And consequently, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, males are at risk of suicide 3.5 times more than females. Distinguished guests, for my last point, we as a society have made an unconscious bias against femininity. I am talking about our language. As a component of our daily lives, of course, what words we hear from other people and what words we say to other people have a great impact on society's views and norms. Let us look back on an experiment done in 2007. They found that Russians were able to recognize the color blue more easily than English speakers. This is because Russian has 2 words for the color blue compared to the single word in English. Now, when you see someone scared or shy, hesitating before taking a step, you tell them to man up. But if they run away frightened, you ridicule them saying, you run like a girl. We are all also aware of the term grow a pair in reference to a male's genitalia. Unaware of it, we have placed a wall between masculinity and femininity, one side being the right side and the other being the wrong side. This mindset is nurtured from a young age, and terms like man up and you run like a girl are common in kids' playgrounds. Without any meddling, this mindset grows to be a part of these young children and continues the sexism that is rooted in our society. As a matter of fact, we've made masculine terms the epitome of strength and competence, making masculinity the obvious favorable trait. On the other hand, presenting or acting as feminine is deemed as a crime, regardless of one's gender. Now that we are aware of our faults, ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility, but also our privilege to speak up on this issue. Why do I say privilege? Because fighting back against the norms come with heavy consequences. Just in 2018, Lujain Al-Hathlul was detained for her continuous fights for women's rights in Saudi Arabia. She was an important component in advocating to lift the driving ban for women in Saudi Arabia and for helping women escape their abusive households. And only in February 2021 was she finally released from her imprisonment. Distinguished guests, from this, we can see that the fight for gender equality is still ongoing. It has started many, many years ago, and while it has improved, we have yet to emerge as victors. As people who have the privilege to speak up and the privilege of a lack of heavy backlash, let us take this chance for change. It can start from yourselves, erasing biased language and taking down societal gender norms and expectations. Instead, we can expect to see brighter futures. After all, as half the world is made up of feminine individuals, how can we move forward while holding back half of our society? Thank you.
Peserta ketiga menghabiskan waktu selama 9 menit 57 detik. Kepada peserta keempat, Felicia dipersilahkan.
Shalom. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Greetings to all of you. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorable judges, and my beloved audience. Before beginning, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Felicia Tampenawas from Binsus 9 Public High School. Standing here to deliver my speech. First of all, let us thank to the Almighty God because only by His grace that I could stand here to deliver my speech. On this occasion, allow me to share my speech about creating gender equality through justice in diversity with the equal mindset as the title. The word gender. May I ask, what is one word that came in your mind if I say that word, gender? Okay. But for me, it's equal rights. I believe that every human has the same rights to live their life to the fullest, either woman or man. But nowadays, there's still a bunch of people that thinking that women have no rights to reach their dreams. For example, there's a lot of people that say women can go for better education because at the end, women will stay on the kitchen. I guess that's stuck in everyone's mind, right? Then I ask, why can women study as high as they can, but boys can? Now, I will give you a reason why women can study as high as they can. Firstly, women are humans too. Women have their own rights to life. Women also have their own dreams to reach. I have a proof. Look at our talented actress Maudi Ayunda. She could complete her study in our neighbor country and being a good wife. Of course, we as women still has to do our duty to cook for our husband in the future. But it doesn't mean that we can't reach our dreams. Why can't we do that? But men can do it. We're humans, right? By these arguments, it doesn't mean that we will rule out the boys. Boys also have their own rights to live their own life. But nowadays, people still judge the boy for what they're doing. For example, there's still a lot of people that judge other style. Like boys who use feminists will be judged by others. Even though girls can style bossy using suit, why boys can't do that? There's no justice. Not only that, there's still a lot of people that think boys are weak if they cry. Now, may I ask, why are boys being called weak if they cry, even though we know for sure they're humans too? By that example, we can see how can we show the equal rights when there's still a no justice mindset? How? Ladies and gentlemen, years will change. Then, when will you change your mind? My speech will be so useless if you, as the judges, as the audience, as the crew, can change your minds about others. Please, see around us. There's a lot of people still hoping that we can have gender equality through justice and diversity. So what can we do then? Try from small things. To open your mind, to change your mind, and see around you. Try to get along with the situation because time flies and our generation will change. Thank you.
Peserta keempat menghabiskan waktu sebanyak 7 menit dan 16 detik. Kepada peserta 5 dipersilakan.
Good afternoon. Shalom. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am William Warangkiran from SMA Negeri 1 Tomohon. That I respect the grand jury. Let us raise praise and thanks to the Lord for the blessings we may in this place. I am going to deliver a speech on the theme creating gender equality through justice in diversity. And I name it Gender Equality in Favor of National Progress. Ladies and gentlemen, gender equality is not something new to us. But there are still many issues about it. This is why, because this is due to the lack of understanding of gender equality. Equality is the same level, the equal value. The equality of gender is that each being must treat equally for its equal value. There is a biological difference between men and women. But the understanding of society has been patterned into a lifestyle that determines how men should act, how women should act as well, how men should wear, how women should talking about. One of the last remaining cultures to this day is the community surrender responsibility of child care to women, while military duty was given to men. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the public view, men still see that men come first than women. As an organization, the leader would be better if it were men. But now, women show their power. As in Joko Widodo Ma'ruf Amin's cabinet, there are at least 6 women who serve as Indonesian cabinet ministers. One of them is Mrs. Sri Mulyani. Some social category is gender that plays a crucial role in one's life and in his role in society and economics. Not all society experience discrimination on the basis of race or ethnicity, but all societies suffer discrimination based on gender in the form of disparity and differences at different levels. At some point, there is a problem between the short age of men and women. Women have limited opportunities compared to men. People thought that women were weak and therefore unable to perform certain tasks. Women also receive physical and mental violence. There are reports of domestic violence in which women are the primary victims. In communities, women often get catcalling, and there's even child and female trafficking. Inequality affects not only women, but also men. For men, it's have limited expression. It can be seen that society has a stigma that men should not cry. Maybe this is a simple problem for you, but this will create new issues related to mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia needs gender equality. Inequality is bad enough for everyone. Indonesia is not a small country. Indonesia is a country of diverse and ethnic, religious, culture. This diversity is not a threat for us, but an incentive to be quick to respond to the problem. The government and the world of education do not discriminate, politicize, and programs for male and female students because they are considered equal, so each student has responded to the problem. Women still lack attention in proclaiming opinions. So, we should give them room so that they can optimize the female role. Training of women must be constantly developed. We must recognize that our society needs a change of mind along with the action for a bright future. We, humans living together, have the same right. I believe Indonesia can be a country that reflect and implement gender equality. Stop gender inequality. Let's start now because it's never too late to start. This is my speech. Thank you for your attention. Once again, thank you.
Baik, peserta kelima menghabiskan waktu selama 7 menit dan 14 detik. Sekarang kita akan masuk ke sesi istirahat sholat makan dan panitia akan membagikan konsumsi kepada peserta dan juri. Bagi teman-teman yang ingin mengambil waktu sholat, dipersilahkan, dan teman-teman peserta lain diharapkan untuk menyiapkan diri untuk sesi yang kedua. Terima kasih. Maaf, izin konfirmasi, Isoma selama 30 menit sampai setengah 2. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih atas perhatiannya. Teman-teman yang para peserta diharapkan agar dari nomor urut yang dari 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, dan 15 atau peserta yang sisa yang sebelum yang tadi sudah tampil diharapkan segera mengambil tempat di sebelah kanan saya di sini karena perlombaan akan segera dilanjutkan.
Baik, waktu telah menunjukkan pukul 1.32. Waktu isoma sudah selesai dan sekarang kita akan melanjutkan speech competition pada sesi kedua. Peserta ke-6 dipersilahkan, Bunga Nurul Alsa Paputungan. Kembali saya ulangi, waktu minimal 8 menit, maksimum 12 menit, waktu dihitung dari saat mulai berbicara.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The honorable judges, the audiences that I respect, not forgetting also my comrades in arms that I'm really proud of. First, let us praise to the presence of God, the merciful God who has bestowed our pleasures for the health, the opportunities, and the happiness we feel today. My name is Bunga Nurul Alsa Paputungan. I am a student from Binsus 9 Public High School, Manado. On this occasion, I will deliver a speech about gender equality. It's one of the social categories that determines someone's life and provides participation in community and national development. Ladies and gentlemen, gender can be interpreted as roles that are shaped by society and behaviors that are embedded through the socialization process related to the gender of women and men. The definition of gender equality refers to an equal condition between men and women in the fulfillment of rights and obligations. There are biological differences between women and men, but culture interprets these biological differences into a set of social demands about appropriateness of behaviors and in turn rights, resources, and powers. While these demands vary across societies, there are some striking similarities. For example, almost all community groups hand over responsibility for child care to women, while military duties are assigned to men. Not everyone is discriminated against based on race or ethnicity, but everyone is discriminated against based on gender in the form of disparities and differences to varying degrees. It often takes a long time to change this injustice. This atmosphere of injustice can sometimes change drastically due to social discrimination. Discrimination based on gender still occurs in all aspects of life all over the world. This is a fact despite considerable progress in gender equality at this time. The nature and extent of discrimination vary widely across countries or regions. Women and girls bear the brunt of inequalities that occur, but basically, inequality is detrimental to everyone. Therefore, equality is the main issue of a development goal that has its own value. In order to improve the position, role, and quality of a woman, as well as efforts to realize gender equality and justice in family, community, national, and state life. A special strategy for mainstreaming gender into the entire national development process is needed. Socialization and actualization of gender mainstreaming also need to be improved to reduce gender discriminatory behavior in the life of society. The issue of gender is still an interesting topic to discuss. Gender is not only about women, but also as a form of relationship between men and women. Gender equality must be interpreted with equal access, balanced participation, and fair benefit gain between men and women. However, until now, there are still many people who think that the position of men and women is not equal. This is due to the fact that there are still gaps in the opportunities that women have to play an active role in various programs and activities in the community, such as economic, social, cultural, educational, political, institutional organizations, and other activities compared to men. Gender equality will strengthen the ability of countries to develop, reduce poverty, and govern effectively. Thus, promoting gender equality is a major part of a development strategy in order to empower community, all people, women and men to lift themselves out of poverty and improve their standard of living. The emergence of demands for equality between men and women needs to be responded proportionally by both gender. If not, then the issue of equality will only become an endless discourse. Therefore, the steps that need to be taken as an effort to respond to this equality issue are to fight for gender balance, removing gender inequality, benefit both genders because it provides equal opportunities for men and women, and uphold justice for them. It is necessary to address the issue of equality as a form of our concern for various life activities that support the realization of the welfare of society in general. Addressing the issue of equality between men and women is indeed a must. Fighting for this equality is a concern that must be fought for by various parties, whether the policy makers means the government or non-governmental organizations or other elements as stakeholders, to be an actor for themselves through institutional strengthening to the maximum in order to realize fair and equal development for men and women. By that, I want to tell you, let's us create unity between women and men so that they can coexist together and support each other to create peace so as not to humiliate the other party and no one will feel insulted. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all speech that I can deliver. I am so sorry if I had a mistake. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Peserta ke-6, Bunga menghabiskan waktu selama 8 menit dan 3 detik. Lanjut ke peserta selanjutnya, peserta ke-7, Jessie Marsha Susilo. Waktu dan tempat dipersilahkan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a beautiful day that makes me had to be here. Thank you for the Lord that bringing me today to be delivered the speech in this competition. Thank you for the jury and the organizer for giving me an opportunity to deliver my speech in this competition. At first, let me introduce myself. My name is Jessie Susilo, and I am a delegate of SMA Negeri 2 Manado. And I am here to represent my speech today that I give a title, We Are All the Same. Most people think that women and men are not equal. Most people think that women are a weak person. But that's all wrong. Because women in this world have made a differences. In this world, women have joining a community to contributing massively in the world. I give example. In my school, all the girls was be treated like a weakness person, like the activities like to lead the class, like the president class. I have been chosen by the teacher to be a president class. At first I thought that being a president class was easy, but it was very wrong because it is need really a big role. Because in my class, if our class was making a struggle, I was being treated by the teacher like I was making a biggest struggles in the world, but Gender equality was a biggest term in the world that must be applied in our daily life for bringing us to the gender equality. We must let our respective to giving the talent that we have, and we must representing the talent that we have in our respective files, and this is make me like and this is the example, like I'm here standing here to deliver my speech today on this competition. I thought this was easy, but that is very wrong. But I'm here to representing all the talents that I have. So gender equality is about what we were have, what talent we have, what respective files, what talent we have in our respective files. That is contrary. To bring us to our respective files, to make us known what we were created to equal each other in our own talents, in our own respective files, without discriminating against each other, and without seeing against each other like we were different like our respective files, so we were created to equal each other's because if we didn't equal each other, this world is in a biggest trouble. So let's we applying this gender equality system without to follow a patriarchal system, so we didn't have to see much the differences of us. So this world is not in the biggest trouble if the gender equality system is applying in our daily life. The patriarchal system is not always have us to follow the patriarchal system because we were created to not depend on each other and not discriminating against each other, and in our respective fields we must treat each other like we were all the same. This is all about my speech. Thank you for listening, and thank you.
Baik, waktu yang dihabiskan oleh peserta ke-7 sebanyak selama 9 menit dan 7 detik. Selanjutnya, kepada peserta ke-8, Rafael Johannes Pangalila. Dipersilahkan.
Good afternoon. I am Rafael Pangalila from Manado Independent School. A few months back, I was out with a friend. A female friend of mine, actually. We weren't the only ones going out. We were with a couple of close friends as well, since it was a group hangout, and we decided to go to the mall. Everything was going well, and we were all enjoying our time together, but then we needed to get on the elevator. And that's when something quite horrible happened. Besides our friend group, there was actually another person on the elevator. He kept on looking inappropriately towards my friend, and obviously, she felt very disturbed. I couldn't tell what was going on at first until she went silent after chatting a bit with me. Then, I quickly came to notice the man's actions. So, I told her to stand on my other side instead of being next to the man. And I gave him the death stare so that he would stop looking at her like that. Thankfully, after that encounter, we got off the elevator and nothing bad happened to us. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what's so wrong with looking at other people? We do it all the time. You can't just come to that conclusion as soon as you see him. He might not actually have any bad intentions, by just looking at her in a certain way. But clearly, you don't get the full picture if you had that in mind. If I wanted to look at a person to perhaps interact or maybe talk with them, I look at them straight in the eye, not somewhere else. And back then, I could clearly tell what he was looking at. But maybe that wasn't that big of a deal for most people, and we were just exaggerating. Well, fair enough then. Let me tell you another encounter I had, which relates to my point. So, a while back, I was scrolling through social media, and I noticed a post that went on my feed. It was a video of someone recording a girl standing right beside the road from his car. It had the caption, "If any of you know her, please, let me know. I want to get to know her more." There are a lot of things wrong with this post. If you can't tell right away, it is disturbingly inappropriate to take pictures or to record someone, a stranger, without their consent. And most notably, it's even worse if you post it on social media and caption it with how you want to find that person, for no real appropriate reason. What made it worse were actually the comments on the video. It was all about how attractive she was and how they want to take her home. Some even just immediately called out how arousing she is for them. Now, did I mention that the video was actually taken right here in our city? And how the ones who posted the video and also interacted with it were all locals from around our city? Now, it really hits too close to home once you realize that all of this isn't happening in some place miles or hours, even days away from here. But it's actually happening right here, right around you, right now. What I've mentioned are examples of sexual harassment. And quite honestly, it's one of the most neglected topics about gender equality today, especially in our society. When being brought up about the issue of gender equality, the first few things that might come to mind might be the gender pay gap, or gender roles, or perhaps gender discrimination. Yet, we fail to realize just how much of a problem harassment is, especially in our society. Although the other problems regarding gender equality are, of course, of noble importance, I want to put an emphasis on this problem in particular. So, what is so wrong with this issue? It doesn't seem to directly correlate to anything regarding inequality. It looks like it's just a problem between a few, if not a group of people. And that's exactly why this is concerning. This problem is so widespread within our society that most of its elements are neglected by mostly the males in our society. A lot of young men today really don't know what crosses the line when it comes to sexual harassment. A lot of women in our society are also silent about this issue because misogyny is still there within our sociology. When women say they're being sexually abused or harassed, a lot of the men in our society take them for granted. And as I've shown from my example earlier, they are even neglected. And people don't think it's a real issue. These are all happening because our society has shaped the way we define how we treat the opposite gender as to how it is. We still have quite the primitive thinking about gender discrimination and also what sexual harassment actually is. People really do tend to forget that at the end of the day, we're all human, despite the differences in gender and the differences in our biology. We are not animals. We do not have wild, primal instincts. We have the intelligence to distinguish the good and the bad. Our behavior is what makes us unique. And saying that our bad behavior towards the opposite gender is because of our nature is just completely messed up and a horrible excuse to come up with. The thing that bothers me the most around here is the way how most men comment on how women dress. Anything they wear that might seem too revealing for men are labeled as inappropriate. But in what way is it inappropriate? What's so wrong with crop tops or jean shorts? They say it is sexually arousing for them. That's why it is inappropriate and why they should not wear them. Or they say it is trying to get their attention or distract them, which basically means the same thing, quite honestly. I really don't get how it is the women's problem and not ours as men. Shouldn't we be the ones to control ourselves? Why should they cover up that much? And to that extent even. Some say it's part of our culture. And honestly, that does not really help with their case. Because some things which are considered our culture are simply wrong. We evolve. We learn new ideas. And saying that how our society views that issue as the way it is, and not actually that it is indeed an issue, and just accepting it the way it is wrong. For us males, it should be our responsibility to make sure that the women in our society aren't mistreated and abused like this. The reason why these issues regarding gender equality, such as the ones I've mentioned, are still present in our society, for me isn't necessarily because of a lack of education, but the lack of proper education. For generations, our education has really been shying away from proper studies about gender, sexuality, and, well, sex itself. It really treats these topics as a taboo to learn and understand. And you could really still see this present even in our modern society today. Even in societies or places that do teach these topics, they forget to mention one more thing. Forget to teach you how you should treat people of the opposite gender, and also as to what might disturb or make them feel uncomfortable. They really should teach these things because maintaining and upholding these values should be the core as to how we fix gender discrimination. And most importantly, gender inequality. Thank you.
Rafael menghabiskan waktu selama 9 menit dan 12 detik. Lanjut ke peserta selanjutnya, Dea Wenas. Waktu dan tempat dipersilahkan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable juries, and all members of Alsa and the participate in the speech contest. And every day, everyone that here today. My name is Dea Natalia Wenas. I come from Binsus 9 Public High School. By giving thanks to God, I can stand here. Today, I will talk to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, about gender equality in the eyes of society, judgment as a woman. I hope that what I say can be understood by all of you. Gender equality. What is the meaning of gender equality? Gender is the differentiation of rules, attributes, traits, attitudes, and behavior that grow and develop in society. And gender roles are divided into productive roles, reproductive, and social roles. I speak from judgment as a woman. Many people always discuss gender equality, especially for women. In fact, gender equality is not only for women and men, but in the fields of education, work, economy, wherever is actually this problem. However, in the field of education, higher education for women is still overlapping. They still think that women do not need higher education. Even though knowledge is not only important for men, but also for women, because the future is in the hands of women. With higher education, will produce a generation that is quality. In the economic field, this phase is that most women cannot access capital. Many women do not own their assets in their name, such as houses, land, or establishing companies. This is in the terms of legal barriers. In addition, access to capital also requires capacities such as education, skills, and leadership. Another problem is that the majority in Indonesian, many women work in the informal sector, but many women with the same abilities as men, but are payless. In addition, which we often see and happen now, a form of verbal sexual violence. It is still not understood by many people that is a wrong action. It is catcalling. Many people think that it is just a joke, but ladies and gentlemen, this can be the first step for perpetrators to carry out the next more dangerous act of sexual violence. If we look deeper, it is rooted in gender inequality. Although Kartini had a quote and followed the modern women's movement, in fact, until now, the practice of patriarchal culture still exists and develops in Indonesian society. This can be seen by the relationship between men and women, which still looks unequal, where women are still positioned as a part of men, marginalized and discriminated against. This causes the shackles of women's freedom and interferes with women's rights. Ideally, women have equal rights and opportunities with other gender. Apart from the things mentioned above, gender equality has several goals, namely, to eliminate all forms of violence, harassment, and exploitation that are often experienced by women, and all forms of discrimination that often occur in the household and work environment. Goods have the right to the same education, have the freedom to participate in political, social, and economic life. In conclusion, gender equality is important to order to uphold equal rights as human beings between women and men, as well as to eliminate all forms of discrimination, violence, and harassment that are often experienced by many people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I can speak for all of you. I hope that what I say can be understood and digested in such a good way, because our country is still having problem with gender equality. But hopefully, it can all be arranged so that justice exists. Thank you.
Dia Wenas menghabiskan waktu selama 5 menit dan 30 detik. Langsung saja ke peserta selanjutnya, Claudia Monalisa Moring, waktu dan tempat dipersilahkan. Kembali saya ingatkan kepada para peserta untuk tidak lupa pencet waktu di sini, timernya, dan ketika mulai waktu terhitung ketika mulai berbicara dan waktu terhenti ketika selesai berbicara. Terima kasih.
Good evening, good afternoon, honorable judges, respected audience, and everyone here today. My name is Claudia Monalisa, and I'm from Binsus 9 Public High School, standing here before you all to deliver my speech. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Indonesia. where you can find a lot of differences. Indonesia is the largest archipelagic country in the world, and that is not the only achievement that Indonesia has. But also, give applause to Indonesia that has been declared by United Nations Development Program to be the first winner of Gender Inequality Index, or GII, Asian Country 2019. Actually, that is not something that we can applaud, because that's a bad thing. And I actually know why Indonesia can achieve that. A little bit background story about me. Since I hit my teen phase, everyone keep telling me that I, as a girl, need to know how to cook, how to clean, do the dishes. Well, I can do all of that work, but I thought to myself that this is a human basic skills, not girls' basic skills. Not forgetting also my guy friends. The boys, they need to hide their emotions. If they cry, people would often say, that's not what a gentleman would do. Because here, our society taught the boys, since they were still kids, even though they're in pain, they shouldn't cry. Why? Because they are a boy. Well, it reminds me of what Emma Watson once said, that both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. With that, I believe that men and women should have their rights. Because almost every time when we talk about gender equality, everyone would think that it was to prove more into women's rights, when it's supposed to be both gender. For example, domestic violence. People would think that the one who did it is always man. But based on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's case, everyone finds out that the one who did it is Amber. But sadly, at first, everyone accused Johnny. He even quit or discharged from Disney because of it, despite his wonderful career being a part in Pirates of the Caribbean. With the society stigma, when Amber lied and played victim, the society believed it, even though it wasn't the real truth. That's why we need to remind ourselves, gender equality is for both gender, not only one-sided. And for us to create gender equality, we already have Undang-Undang Dasar Negara Republik Indonesia, year 1945, that states a good and healthy environment is a human right and a constitutional right for every Indonesian citizen. Therefore, the state, government, and all of the stakeholders are obligated to protect and manage the remain a source and support for life for the Indonesian people and other living creature. Undang-Undang Dasar 1945 provision on human rights are contained in Chapter 29, Paragraph 2 and Chapter 28, E2. Women and men have the rights to live and freedom from discriminatory treatment on any basis and are entitled to protection against such as discriminatory treatment. Undang-Undang number 98, year 1958, Convention of Women's Political Rights. Undang-Undang number 7, year 1984, Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. In reality, that Indonesian society, equality and justice in obtaining equal and fair benefits from development outcomes between men and women have not been fully achieved. We, boys and girls, men and women, are expected by the society to play a certain rules and behave on certain ways. These behaviors are learned and shaped the gender norms in our society. We need to wake up and see that this is an important issue that need to be solved. But Clau, we already have all of these laws, right? Then, not only wake up and realize how important it is, but take a real action. Our government already put it on the laws, but they also need to start the real action, just like what they do with Merdeka curriculum on school, so that it is working on. Here, not only laws or even seminars that not everyone can access, we need to incorporate this material into school subject, such as counseling lessons, so students can actually study it, learn about it deeply, not just know it. Now for us, we can start to change our society mindset on the role of both gender. Because the fact that is, we can do anything, chasing dreams, show emotion with not being judged and discriminated, but still doing our job as a parent, wife, husband, and etc. Chasing your dream doesn't mean ignoring all of your duties. Also, we need to accept and respect the differences that we have. Well, we already did this for a long time ago, but except for gender difference, that needs to be equal. So we can respect each other with no discrimination. We have many differences, such as gender. Don't make these differences bring us down. Instead, makes it unite us all. Because there's no point for me winning this competition when out there, I still get discrimination. When out there, there's still no justice and equal rights for both sides. When the audience itself couldn't hear me and ignore it. Here, ladies and gentlemen, the judges, and Alsa Fest, I'll invite you to stand beside me to fight, to speak our voice, and speak for rights and justice. Thank you.
Baik, untuk peserta Claudia Monalisa Moring menghabiskan waktu selama 8 menit. Pas. Dan untuk peserta selanjutnya, Frederica Moninka, dipersilakan.
As Harry Hockey said, men and women have roles. The roles are different, but their rights are equal. I am Frederica Eugene Moninka from Schola Chitrakasi. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day. Now I'll be talking about gender equality. As you're aware, gender equality is a human right. Gender equality is when people of all gender have equal rights and opportunities regardless of their gender. Back then, there was no gender equality. Society had their own stereotypes or stigma, or which you can call patriarchy, in which we women have fewer opportunities for political or economic participation than men and less access to higher education. We women had limited choices in life. We were only expected to stay home, get married, clean the house, and take care of children, and etc. And for men, they are pressured to be a real man, to be physically and emotionally strong, to be manly, to put their emotions away and aren't allowed to cry, experience toxic masculinity, and be the main income earner. So when the pressure comes, some men most likely resort to drinking sometimes too much, take unhealthy risks, have unstable mental health, and engage in violence. Compared to the era in which we women had limited choices in life, in our generation today, we are very much progressing. Although gender equality hasn't truly developed in Indonesia or globally, but we're making progress towards the equality. In this case, we need both women and men to fight together to learn to respect and appreciate both gender fairly. Gender equality is important, and we have to fight for it, because clearly this is everyone's problem. We women and men have been under too much pressure, and this will never stop unless we take action. Although yes, there has been a progress, but we don't know how out there are still women giving up their dreams or career. Lots of women out there are scared or even aren't able to pursue an education because they were told that they shouldn't be smart because they would end up in the kitchen either way. Lots of women out there are still silenced by the sexual harassment or abuse they experience, because they're scared the judgment of society. Tragically, truth be told, we women are most likely to be cornered in the situation when we speak up. And women, in general, are most likely to be considered weak, and our abilities are mostly underestimated. Women should have the freedom to be strong or smart. Women should have the freedom to do what they want, to be true to themselves, and to have the opportunities to develop as well as men. As a woman, we should be confident to show our ability. We should prove to them that we are capable to pursue any dreams, jobs, and career we desire. This isn't just about girls are better than boys or boys are better than girls. This is to uphold the fact that everyone deserves a fair chance. Both women and men have their own struggles and pressure. Both men and women have suffered inequality, discrimination, etc. Both men and women should feel free to be strong or even sensitive. So, what can we do to contribute in achieving equality? We women and men should work together to create a healthier environment at home, work, school, university, etc. The equal rights to pursue education are needed to create a smart women and men, so when they choose to have a family, they can create a healthier mindset for the next generation, which I believe they can make a better generation to come. They're able to contribute to the country's better future. They can break the norms and stereotypes that have been passed down from generation to generation. Stereotypes or rules about how women and men, girls and boys begin in childhood and follow us through adulthood. Equality is created by a mindset. And when we are aware of gender equality, we are able to spread awareness to our surroundings and make a change. Gender equality is a fundamental human right. Advancing gender equality is critical to all areas of a healthy society, from reducing poverty to promoting the health, education, protection, and the well-being of girls and boys. Achieving gender equality will not happen overnight. We all have a role to play in promoting the gender equality. Let's work together. It all starts from ourselves by appreciating ourselves and others. In conclusion, Working together is what we really need to achieve an equal gender. We should be more aware of what's happening around us, and we should expand our knowledge about gender equality. This is the end of my speech today. Apologize me for any words and behavior which are unpleasant to you. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.
Oke, untuk peserta dari Frederica Monika menghabiskan waktu selama 6 menit 22 detik. Kita lanjut ke peserta selanjutnya, yaitu Christopher Gerung. Dipersilakan.
Good morning, Honorable Judge, respectable committees, and all of the audience who are here today. Let us all give praise to the Lord, for only through His guidance that we may be here today. My name is Christopher Stefano Samuel Gerong. I'm from Semansa Tomohon, or as I would usually call it, Semanto Tomohon. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know what gender equality is, right? Everyone knows the meaning of it. It is the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, which was adopted by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is the full equality of men and women to enjoy the full range of political, economical, civil, and social rights. Ladies and gentlemen, gender discrimination still exists to this day in almost all parts of the world and in various aspects of it. In the past, women was regarded as less than individuals. They have been given predefined roles by their husband. But in this day, the present, that has changed. The government and society at large has done numerous actions to try and stop discrimination towards women. But what about us, the men? As women's rights increase, the expectation that they have in the past has started to fade. But the stereotypes that a man has to be strong all the time still persist. If you saw a girl that is crying, you will immediately try to comfort her, try to console her, try anything you can to try and make her stop crying and be happy. But when it's a man, then you will immediately, or at least some people would immediately bully him. They would laugh at him. They would ridicule him. And after all of that, they would say, "Man up." People tends to think that men have it easier than no. People think that men have it easier than women. But I disagree. Whenever I saw a teacher, I usually saw a female. Or whenever I saw a civil servant, I saw a female too. But when I saw a beggar, when I was strolling down Manado City, going to Mantos, going to the back alleys of Manado City, and I saw a beggar, many of the beggars here are men, adult men. And not just the adults, but weak children, helpless children. There are some teenagers like us too. And there is even fragile old men that sometimes are blind. My father has to work hard to even find a job. In the year 2021, for most of the month, my father didn't even have a job. But he has to work hard to find a job. And he has one of the highest education. But still, he has to work very, 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 very hard to even find a job. Just as some of the civil engineering lecturers for you committees about Antonius Gerong, and some of them will immediately respond that they know my father. Some of them uses his formula to calculate about stuff. Some of them even called him brother, senior. But even when he has all that education, even though he wants almost become a lecturer himself, he needs to take an extra amount of work to even feed me. But I'm saying that woman's job is easy. I'm not saying that. My mother, for example, has to feed us while my father didn't have a job. Women and men both has it hard. Ladies and gentlemen, people needs to stop thinking that only women suffers from abuse. Only women suffers from raping. Men suffers from it too. While I was scrolling through the internet, I saw an article about a peculiar case of Johnny Depp. For years, he has tried to fix his reputation. For years, he has tried to find a way to stop the slander to his name. And while he was working hard for all of that, Amber Heard, the woman in this case, just had to sit around, do interviews, lie. But thankfully, that all has changed. In the year 2022, the case has been resolved in favor of Johnny Depp. some of the men like us, but some of the men like Johnny Depp doesn't have the pleasantry to go through years and years and years of court case. Some of them has to rot away. Some of them has their reputation taken away from them. Some of them has to even starve. And so, we as society shouldn't immediately jump to the conclusion that only woman suffers from all of that. And for my parting statement, I will say that gender equality should be about creating equality to all kinds of gender, not downgrading the other while upgrading the rest. Thank you.
Tes. Jadi untuk peserta dari Christopher Gerung telah menghabiskan waktu selama 9 menit 15 detik. Dan untuk peserta selanjutnya kita akan mendengarkan dari Daniel Kaunang, dipersilakan.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful occasion to be able to stand here amongst such a great audience. If you take a look at me, what image comes to your mind? A high schooler? Yes, my uniform says so. A teenage girl? No doubt. How about a pretty teenage girl? I'm joking. But thank you though. I used to do modeling when I was little, so of course, taking care of myself is something that I always do. But there are two things I get remarked a lot. My height and my physical appearance are often judged negatively. Just because of how I look, there were times when some not so wise people assumed that I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. I am Daniel Kawanang, the valedictorian of Manado Independent School Middle School. When I argued back, since I wanted to keep my stance, I got an adult man mockingly said, "We've got a little feminist right here." What is wrong with being a feminist? Feminism is not equal to men hating and will never be equal to it. Why would you, a grown-up, feel so defensive to a little kid like me that you have to make a degrading remark? Since when fighting for my human rights, the right of taking care of myself, makes me deserve to receive this kind of attitude? Another story comes from a private tutor. One day, she told me a story about her best friend from her college days. They have been friends ever since. Her best friend is a boy who appears to be more feminine than the rest of the guys in their class. I'm going to refer to her best friend as Mr. A from now on to make it easier. Mr. A, according to my tutor, got bullied a lot during their time in college. People assumed that he's a weak guy just because he's courteous and soft-spoken. He got harassed because of that. My tutor pointed out a lot that this feminine man was the one who gave his hand a lot during group projects back in their college days. He might or might not be a gay, might sure didn't mention his orientation, but Mr. A is indeed stronger and more diligent than the rest of the guys in their class. Mr. A indeed was not being acknowledged for things that he's capable of, but rather got insults and peer pressure to be someone he is not. Honorable judges and audience, like it or not, we live in such a judgmental society filled with hypocrites. Stop talking about reaching gender equality and achieving equal human rights when we still lay human values only by our assumptions about people who appear different from common stereotypes or social constructs. Why did I mention social construct? Not to confuse. Gender and birth-assigned sex are related, but they are different. Gender is way deeper than what our genitalia tells who we really are. Quoted from the World Health Organization website, gender refers to the characteristics of women, men, boys, and girls that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behaviors, and roles associated with being one and as a social construct. This varies from society to society and can change over time. It is a broad topic and definitely has spectrums in it. Hence why there are later discussions regarding gender and gender identities, sexual orientations and preferences, and so on that are already on another page that I won't be able to mention one by one here, or else it's going to be a whole day lecture by a 16 years old high schooler. However, once we take a look at our beloved country, the extreme patriarchal attitudes in most of our culture make the lack of acceptance and education regarding the ability to thrive and earn equal rights for women and those other minority groups who identify themselves as different from vast majority. Moreover, the false interpretations of religious beliefs makes it even harder for the concept of equality to penetrate deeper into our society. As far as I'm concerned, Indonesia's motto is Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, or unity in diversity. We realize just how diverse our people and culture are already, yet we can't give justice. In the 1945 Indonesian Constitution, Article 27, it is clearly stated that all citizens shall have equal status accorded by law and the government. All citizens, no matter what gender or how we present and identify ourselves, are obliged to respect the law and the government without exception, followed by all the rights we should earn. Equal rights for all citizens are ensured even more in Chapter 10A of the 1945 Indonesian Constitution. There are still more laws that support and cover equality for every genders that I won't be able to mention one by one here. Yet all of this proves that the sense of diversity and respect towards people of any gender they identify themselves with is already in our blood. It just depends on our willingness to open our minds and be accepting. Are we still going to live under the rock and be so ignorant that the issue of unequal treatment of certain genders will just go unnoticed? Will we be ready to face the shame since the rest of the world is now really being aware of this issue and trying their best to reach equality for every gender? Ladies and gentlemen, before I end my speech here, I want to remind you that equality, regardless of genders and sexes, is not only an idea. It is a birth-given right that shall be received by all kinds of human beings. Men, women, boys, girls, and those who identify differently from their assigned sex. Let us be defined not just by our gender, but by our capability, action, and kindness towards everyone. Fewer people being judged means fewer people will end up being harassed like me or Mr. A. I'm Daniel Kawanang from another independent school. Thank you.
Oke. Untuk peserta dari Daniel Kaunang menghabiskan waktu selama 8 menit 4 detik. Dan kita masuk ke peserta yang paling terakhir. Langsung saja kita panggil Shanila Mongdong. Dipersilakan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings to all of us. Shalom. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, and good wishes to all of us. The honorable jury and the entire audience. As the saying goes, if you don't know, you don't love. Then, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Shanila Rowinari Gita Mongdong from SMA Negeri 1 Tomohon. Today, I will bring a speech with the title Eliminating Patriarchy and Building Gender Equality in Indonesian Students. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I will address in my speech today is patriarchy. What exactly patriarchy is? According to the Kamus Besar Bahasa Indonesia, patriarchy is a behavior that prioritizes men over women in certain socialities or social groups. Patriarchy is a social system that places men as the main power holders and dominates in political leadership roles, moral authority, social rights, and property control. The patriarchal social system makes men have a special rights over women. Their dominance does not only cover the personal realms, but also the wider realms, such as political participation, education, economics, social, law, and others. Implicitly, this system institution the government and privilege of men and places the position of women under men. Patriarchy comes from word patriarchate, which is mean a structure that places the role of men as the sole, central, and everything ruler. Based on the explanation above, it can be concluded that patriarchy is an understanding that prioritizes men over women in all fields. And in general, women get a less favorable position in various aspects of life. Ladies and gentlemen, we all must know that this kind of understanding must be removed from Indonesian society, especially for the next generation of people like us. Men and women were created as living beings who complete and balancing each other, not to excel each other. In this era, women can be anything with all their nature as a mother. They can be successful in their own way. Women can be main role in their life. Every woman has the right to be a leader, and women as a figures who give birth to civilization should not be abused. In North Sulawesi itself, based on data from Symphony PPA, there are still many reports about harassment. We must strive to eliminate all forms of violence, harassment, and exploitation, and all forms of discrimination that often occur in this household as well as the work environment, school, and campus. Ladies and gentlemen, patriarchy must be eliminated, but awareness of this kind is still very low in Indonesia. Indonesia needs people who are aware and care about gender equality. If not us, who else? Such as the slogan of the Indonesian Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection, Empower Women, Protect Children, and Advance Indonesia. Stop the gender gap. Woman or man, boys or girl, feminine or masculine, we are all equal in the eyes of God. Like our motto, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity. That's all from me. Shalom. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya, and best wishes to all of us. Thank you.
Baik, untuk peserta yang terakhir telah menghabiskan waktu selama 5 menit 5 detik. Sekarang kita akan masuk ke agenda kita yang selanjutnya. Sebelum itu kita apresiasikan dulu kepada para peserta yang telah mengikuti lomba speech competition. Dan untuk sekarang ini kita akan, berikut ini para juri akan berunding untuk mengakumulasi dari tiap-tiap peserta nilai-nilai tersebut dan akan didampingi oleh panitia. Mungkin dari PJLO dan PJ peserta bisa mendampingi untuk para juri untuk berunding. Akan diberikan waktu selama 15 menit untuk para juri untuk mengakumulasi dari tiap-tiap peserta. Semuanya boleh Pak, mau tanda tangan dulu. Kasih Kak, kasih Kak. Pak. Dokumentasi dulu. Oh iya, satu kali yang sama beserta dengan juri. Oh iya.
Baik, terima kasih. Untuk para juri juga kami ucapkan terima kasih. Dan bagi para peserta, mungkin kita bisa kumpul ke depan untuk mengambil dokumentasi sebelum peserta dan juri juga meninggalkan venue. Mungkin kakak juri bisa mengambil tempat dulu di depan, kita akan dokumentasi bersama. Peserta dan pembimbing silahkan untuk kita bersama-sama untuk menghemat waktu. Bersama dengan Director Alsa Unsrat dan Project Officer Alsa Fest 2022.
Ya, untuk seluruh peserta bisa mengambil tempat di depan sini dengan akan berfoto bersama-sama dengan para juri. Di sini Kang, Kak, atau di sini Kak? Di sini aja Kang. Ya. Di sini aja. Teman-teman bisa ke tengah sedikit. Dan teman-teman yang lain bisa langsung mengambil tempat ya, dengan akan berfoto bersama dengan para juri. Ayo, teman-teman yuk. Mengingat waktu kita teman-teman SOP ya. SOP kita begini, Alsa. Ya, buat gini ya. Oke, terima kasih kepada para dewan juri dan kepada seluruh peserta yang sudah hadir. Dan teman-teman, sebelum kita akan meninggalkan tempat ini, makasih Kak. Terima kasih Kak. Terima kasih Kak udah hadir. Sebelumnya kita akan mendengarkan kesan pesan dari salah satu peserta dan kesan pesan akan dibawakan oleh peserta dari Daniel.
Check. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to say that I'm super grateful for this opportunity, given that I am able to stand here giving some words for this whole competition. First of all, to be honest, this is my first ever speech competition. And this competition has set up a great standard for the next competition that I might be joining. And I'm super thankful for all of the committee and all of the crews involved for this competition, and also for the great speakers that I've heard before. At last, I would like to say I wish Alsa community a success for the future throughout the next competitions and other projects or events you guys will be planning to do. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih untuk dari peserta untuk sudah membawakan kesan dan pesan. Dan untuk pada kali ini berhubung dengan nilai sudah diakumulasi oleh para juri dan akan diakumulasikan oleh panitia yang bertanggung jawab akan nilai. Untuk penentuan pemenang akan diumumkan pada besok hari. Dan pada besok hari kita akan melaksanakan closing ceremony, dan di situ akan diumumkan para pemenang dan sertifikat dan beberapa hadiah. Dan untuk pelaksanaan closing ceremony itu jam 2 siang sampai jam 4 sore. Dan untuk tempat akan diinfokan lebih lanjut lagi. Mungkin itu dari kami. Kita akan langsung ke doa tutup. Oke. Untuk penutup acara kita pada sore hari ini, kita akan tutup dengan doa, dan doa akan dipimpin oleh peserta Shanela. Dipersilakan.
Sebelum kita menutup kegiatan pada hari ini, kita tutup dengan doa, dan saya akan berdoa menurut agama dan kepercayaan saya, yaitu Kristen Protestan. Mari berdoa. Tuhan Yesus, terima kasih untuk segala berkat, anugerah, tuntunanmu kepada kami sepanjang hari ini, sehingga kegiatan kami pada hari ini boleh terselesaikan dengan baik. Tuhan, kami tadi telah mengikuti kegiatan speech competition Alsa Fest. Kiranya seluruh peserta yang telah mengikuti kompetisi ini boleh menambah pengetahuan melalui kompetisi ini, dan nantinya siapapun yang akan menjadi pemenangnya kami serahkan ke dalam tangan-Mu. Sekarang kami akan kembali ke tempat tujuan kami masing-masing. Berkati kami di perjalanan supaya kami bisa sampai di tempat tujuan kami dengan selamat. Inilah doa kami, dalam nama Tuhan Yesus kami berdoa dan mengucap syukur. Haleluya, haleluya, amin.
Baiklah, inilah penghujung dari acara Alsa Speech Competition Alsa Fest 2022. Dan pada hari ini dipersilakan dulu untuk para peserta untuk diam di tempat, karena sebelum kita pulang, alangkah baiknya dari tiap-tiap peserta dan pendamping untuk mengecek barang-barang bawaan supaya di saat meninggalkan venue tidak ada yang tertinggal. Terima kasih sudah mengikuti lomba Alsa Fest Speech Competition. May Alsa always be one.
Diinformasikan kembali bahwa besok jam 2 ada seminar nasional dari Alsa Fest 2022 dengan tema harmonisasi hukum nasional dalam mencapai Sustainable Development Goals